I'll start. I should start, yeah. So, my name is Colleen O'Callahan, and I've come to this Ballet Beyond Borders through Charlene Campbell when she and I were about 16. She was my, she sublet my apartment when I would go on tour with ABT. So I've known Charlene since then. And then I danced with American Ballet Theater and left New York. I was old, I was 23 when I quit dancing. And had gone to New York when I was about 16 and then quit when I was 23 and moved to Utah. I did not choose Utah because they have a big dance department. I chose Utah because Bucky was my boyfriend at the time. He was an electrician with the company, and that's where he lived. And so we decided we would go to Utah. And when I left ABT, I was very, it was one of those decisions where a long tour of being very sad, very, and realizing, whew, I don't like myself very much, and was tired of not liking myself, right? And passionate about dancing, always have been and always will be, and never expected to just up and quit. But that's what happened. I just thought, you mean, it was actually during a performance of La Bayadere, and we used to do it with a scrim in front of us, and I remember saying, if I ever felt like there was a distance between myself and the audience, then that would be it. And I know there were many dancers at that time that were in the company that had been there for a long time, and they just went through the motions. And I thought, how did they do that? How do they do that? But I couldn't do that. But that one particular performance, we were in Detroit. It was a miserable tour. And I remember standing in Arabesque, and I remember my leg going, shoom, shoom. And it just shifted something for me. And after the performance, I said to Susan Jones, I need to take a leave of absence from the company. So we went back to New York, and we had a performance. We had a spring season in New York for the time. And at the end of the spring season, I had to go to Baryshnikov, was the director at the time, and I said, I don't think I'm going to come back. And he said, well, he said, Colleen, you'll make a very good teacher. I said, great. I was not expecting to teach. I was like, I wanted to be revived again, but I didn't. It was at a point where I thought, well, I don't have to do this. You know, I had to stop and really think about it. So I went to Utah, and I did start teaching, and they also have a dance department. So I was teaching in the dance department, and I also was going to school. And it was odd because not a lot of people went to school then, right? And I would go back and visit dancers in the company, and they wouldn't even want to talk about something outside of dancing, you know? I've said this earlier today, so I feel like I'm repeating myself. If I am, I'm sorry, but to get through college, I was dating a psychologist who was friends with the physiology professor, and I introduced the physiology professor to the head of the dance department, and those two got married. And I was dating the psychology professor, and all three of these people were my mentors for my degree, which was a Bachelor of University Studies degree. Come in, and in fact, come sit here, so in case you're not in front of the camera. And so basically, I took courses that I loved: physiology, psychology, anatomy. I was originally going to be a psychologist. And then when I went to graduate school for psychology, I think all of the people in the psychology world were a little bit crazier than the clients, so I had to back out of that. So and that was my college experience. And then what happened was Charlene called me. I had started dancing again, and she said, come to Chicago and dance in this film. And I had just graduated college, and I was engaged, and thought, well, I'll go to Chicago and dance in a film. So I go to Chicago, and the night I get to Chicago, I I said, who is that? And she said, that's the writer. And I said, oh dear, we're in trouble. So that was it. Yes, fell in love with the writer, moved to California, and yeah, I know, I don't even know you people and I'm telling you this story.
Oh, we're in trouble.
Charlene, she married the director, okay? She married the director, I married the writer. I moved to California. I think she moved to California as well. And once I had started dancing again but was still teaching, I couldn't go back to do the dancing thing so much. I did do some work with Twyla, but putting myself back in that head frame of headspace was just not good for me. So I kept on teaching and have taught a lot of places for a long time.
So would you jump in and then kind of sense that coming and then jump out?
I did. I was teaching at Cal Arts, California Institute of Arts, and they had a faculty performance. I was like, I don't perform, and that's what actually, no, actually it started dancing before that. So I don't perform again, but they had me performing, and Marianne Kellogg, who had been a dancer with Twyla Tharp, choreographed a solo and something else on me, and so I started that, and yeah, I would do that back and forth. But realized, no, I love to dance, but couldn't do both. Too self-centered, much. Join us. We're just making a big circle because we did not know how big we're going to be. So that's the story today is not about any of that, and it's really not about the topic, which was how to get to university through dance. It's more of the topic I really want to discuss is how we get students to not quit dancing when they're 10th, 11th, 12th grade. 9th grade, 10th grade, they start growing boobs, gaining a little weight. The ballet studios aren't as enamored with them, and they don't know that they have a choice beyond their high school years. And so many of them get discouraged, and there's not a lot of time and support for those kids to do the work that they need to do, that know that they can continue to dance even after they go through these changes, even after they've been Clara and all the sweet little parts, and then they think, well, I'm not any good anymore, and they quit. And so the conversation that I wanted to have with people was how an event like this, with all of these wonderful dancers and groups, not only if it was a competition, but even if it wasn't, if it was some sort of a showcase where we brought in the universities to look at all these dancers and to kind of keep track of them from even maybe 9th or 10th grade, and then come back over the years and track them. Do you know, like a soccer showcase, you go and you're being seen by these people. So instead of the dancers going all over to audition for universities, having a cohesive group that can come in and keep track of these kids. And you could have their SAT scores, you could have their records, you could have everything to say, here, you're interested in this one, you're interested in this one, and then have the university people hold whether it be workshops or conferences or like a college fair, but a college fair that continues to keep up with these kids before they're college ready. Does that make sense? And so that people like me and you who are, and I don't know the rest of you, who are unusual and that we're going to do the research by ourselves to get there, so many students we know don't. They just quit. And they think going to college means they've not made it. And I happen to know, we should all know very differently how much this art form can be celebrated and can be transferred into so many things. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing. We never really, it's the dancing is one small part. So I want to find a collective whole, and I want to find a movement of people who are willing to be ambassadors to help these dancers keep dancing and to help these kids know that there are schools out there that keep getting better and better with opportunities to train and to learn and to be seen and to choreograph and to go in all these different directions. So that was my topic for how to get through university through dancing, or how to get to dancing through university. But it's more about how do we open up the recruitment process for kids, and how do we get students to be more, and studios to be more encouraging and enabling and helping these dancers further their career, besides they're going to quit when they're 16 because, well, now what do you do? Parents are tired, students are tired, bank accounts are tired. So I'm going to ask, first of all, I'm going to ask Julia to, because you've been the director of, the chairman of.
And there's another one right over there.
Nicole, I'm
Currently the director.
then you should come down here, Nicole, and help me, because I'm just sharing this idea and passion I have for all of these wonderful dancers that we want to be able to continue to do what they love to do, and there's places to do it. So that's what I want, is a discussion about how that can happen. I know the people at universities say, Colleen, there's no money for us to go out and recruit. Well, what if this is, we say, okay, we're going to have a showcase in Southern California in February, and you don't have to pay much to get there, buy your airplane ticket. We can't give you something free, because then we're considered giving you bribes if we put you in a hotel room. So it's $39 a night, and you get to spend a long weekend watching all these different groups of dancers that come together that might be interested in your school later on. And you can keep tabs on them, you know, through giving you their information. Then maybe next year you come back and now they're in 10th grade. Wow, that girl really grew up, or that boy did this or this. So that there is a process, not just, you know, one-shot deal of looking at somebody, like a recruitment, like when you're in a sports situation and you're being recruited over a few years.
Scouting.
Scouting is what I'm talking about.
They do have what's called the, Nicole knows, the American College Dance Festival.
ACE.
That's after you get in.
That's after college. I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, because I don't have my own studio, and I don't want my own studio. I get to teach a lot of different places. It's wonderful. But I also see a lot of students come to me that have been at our local studio in Ventura, and maybe 2 years before they were Clara, and the next year they were ousted because maybe they grew boobs, or they this or that, and they're no longer the cute little thing, and they're discouraged, and their mother comes to me in tears, and the daughter doesn't want to do it anymore. And then I take one look at her in class, and I can see she's just broken inside, and wants to be celebrated for who she is, but she no longer knows who that is, because she's gone through so many changes from age 12 to 16. And many teachers don't have time for them, and they don't know how to help those students. And to be honest with you, most of the ones I see are not being trained in a way that we talked about today, so that they're not even beginning to tap into their full potential, because they're not being trained in order to do what they can do well. It's forcing it so it's a certain look, you know? And I get these students all the time. I wish I could take with you all the time, Colleen. I wish, you know, you were doing this, but if I was doing that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now necessarily. You know, there is no perfect school. I understand that. But I do think there has to be a way for these kids to be seen and to continue to celebrate what they've been doing their whole life, instead of just throwing it away, because life gets hard between those ages.
And I think also for them to have an understanding that pursuing academics, like as you were saying, they'll enter school and think that that means they didn't make it.
That's exactly
But
it.
actually that the academics or having a different passion helps them become a better dancer and gets rid of all the junk and the negative thoughts and the worries and the doubts, but makes them come into class each day so appreciative to be moving.
That's right.
And that actually it enhances their dancing.
That's right. But very
But
few
yeah, I
know
think- I
that.
think that's
They think,
involved.
oh, well, if I go to college, I didn't make it.
Yeah, that's a very
very strong belief in the culture right now.
And it's think of last night, Gene Kelly. What struck me about Gene Kelly before last night is how did he do everything he did? I mean, I don't even know when he trained. He went off and did a ton of things before he even took class, it seemed. The man was right, the ultimate Renaissance man. Well, that's...
Yeah, he was learning when he was little with his brother and going to shows.
Yes.
And learning that way.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So tell us about your school experience. I don't know what your school experience.
Okay. So I went to Juilliard. I graduated in 2014.
Oh, that's right. You stayed at my house before you did.
Yes, I know. I was just thinking about being down there and hanging out for a little while.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of house sharing connections.
Yes, exactly. But I honestly, I didn't feel quite ready to jump into a company as soon as I was done training in Missoula with Charlene. I didn't feel like I had the mental capacity to go into company life just because I knew how intense, and I loved Missoula and it was hard for me to leave. And so I knew that with this new day and age that having a diploma is such a big thing that just in case I decided not to continue dance in the future, like having a diploma would help me get a job. I feel like it's something that most companies will look for nowadays when they're hiring new employees. And so I decided to go to Juilliard and train there, and it was the best decision I think I had ever made.
Right. And so again, though, Juilliard is up here. Juilliard is like ABT, so people are going to go, Juilliard, yeah. What about the small universities that I want people to know about? We're not going to get a lot of these kids. They're not going to get into Juilliard. They're not even going to get into Butler and IU, but there are other universities out there that are still very, very good dance departments, right? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, is not just the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But actually the strongest experiences are sometimes like the student-run
Yeah.
experiences, because a lot of the times I think in training you're always told what to do, and automatically you just be like, oh, but I don't want to do it. But when it's student run and it's a group of students coming together and being like, oh, let's do this production and let's get this, choreographer and this, like there's so much more passion and devotion to it that comes out in the end, that I would say, yeah, having that college experience for a dancer to be running their own projects and to be managing and then to experience how difficult it is, it brings out so much more life in the performance at the end.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just that enjoyment of dancing, of moving and being a collective and just enjoying what you love doing.
Yeah.
That I think, like you said, so many people miss out on just because they think, I didn't make it. I didn't cut it.
Yes, and so let's go to tell us, Merritt, a little bit about your background.
I started dancing at 13. I grew up I had an academic family-oriented family, so dancing professionally was completely off the table. That was not a thing. So I went to Harvard, and my second year in Harvard, I had to freak out. I was like, I'm 19, and like, Paloma was principal at 16. I'm never gonna dance unless it's now. And so every vacation, like Thanksgiving break, winter break, spring break, whatever, I went out and I auditioned. I auditioned to 24 companies in that year. And part of my thought process was, look, I might not be ready for this, but I know that I'm improving 1,000 times more in each audition than if I took 100 classes. I don't have time for 100 classes.
Wow.
I studied physics. It was a bit like mental. And to my parents' dismay, I got into Zurich Ballet, which was actually the company that I really wanted to get into. And so I took the time off. Universities are really flexible, so
Yeah.
Harvard was like, email us when you want to come back. So I went for a year, I emailed them, we're like, I'm coming back. They're like, great. And then I stayed for another year, and then took off to go to Boston Ballet. So I was like, is it high rate? I'm gonna leave again. They're like, just email us when I come back. And I was like, okay. But it was, I would say, having been the experience of a very academic university, was that it was mostly student run. We brought in the choreographers that we wanted to work
Wow.
with. We got to bring in I mean, I did Twilight Arts Sinatra Suite, and like, we did Balanchine's Apollo, and Paul Taylor.
See, yes.
And Trey McIntyre.
Yes.
Stuff that like we wanted to do, and I had this performance footage, and I worked my butt off. And also because I was studying physics, I mean, my brain was exploding, so every time I came into this dance studio, I mean, I could care less if my butt was big and my whatever, you know? I was like, I'm moving, like, I'm so happy to be in the studio at this moment, that having that second passion was just, you know, having physics, it just helped me every time I went to the studio to forget all the negative thoughts. Because I think that's probably what, I don't know, specifically, but I see a lot of dancers who've just gone through the dance track, and what I see stopping them is that more than ever, yes, they get physically worn out, but it's mentally and just psychologically, and not, I think it's because all they can think about is the negative comments, and then their own thoughts just starting to eat at
And
them.
on top of it, yeah.
And I've been, like, after a year in company, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm just like, okay, I hate this about myself, and this about this stuff, and then you just start dancing like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
But I realize every time I also have the physics or something else, I just don't have time for that negative
Yeah.
BS.
So what I want to address, what I want to give people that are already part of universities a chance to talk to us about is some of what I hear and in myself and in others is so idealized, like it would be so easy if. But those people that are in academic world, you know the restrictions, you know the paperwork and really the reality of the situation of what it looks like on paper versus what you can actually offer. Talk to us about that. What do you see? What would you like to see? Both the dream version and the reality version.
Well, I would think that in contemporary and modern dance that we have that experience at that age 16. Now, if you've done creative movement and then you've just kept dancing in a lot of different styles, you don't have that pressure. It sounds like that you all experienced. And so to go from modern dance into a college program, it's a lot easier. There's, you know, you're not down on yourself. You're saying, well, I'll just keep doing what I've been doing. And do you think that's true?
I think that's
Nicole?
true. I mean, I think the other thing is that one of the biggest challenges that I experience in my position now is advocating for what dance can provide for a young person in their career and what is viable with a degree in dance and what kinds of possibilities might exist for a student. And I have to say, I wish there was a point where we could speak to students who are on the fence or whose parents are on the fence about their child pursuing dance in the future, like at sophomore, junior, senior year of high school.
That's right.
So that there can be a real discussion about what the possibilities are, because our alumni achievements are exceptional. Like, I'm looking at Johanna back there, who's an entrepreneur. She started dancing in college. So she was one of my students, and her accomplishments are extraordinary. She founded a company called Dance Door, and she's incredibly successful and started dancing with us. And so, like, I think there are students who start in college and there are students who continue in college, and there's a meeting ground there that's way more democratic than I think might exist in dance academies or in studios that lead up into university setting. I think there are some colleges that are conservatory based, but the other ones that aren't, that are more public state universities, there's a different kind of philosophy that grounds those dance programs in a different kind of accessibility for students who are coming in. But there's an information gap, I think, or a conversation gap there.
I think that there's a huge conversation gap for those parents when those kids are in that high school years and what they're going to go on and do. Well, certainly you're not going to continue to dance in college, you know, you're going to hear that. And to what I'm also talking about, it's not just the modern dance programs, because I see it very different now. When I was first teaching University of Utah and Cal Arts and modern dance programs, these modern dancers were like, and I don't call them modern dancers anymore because I think dancers are dancers. They were hungry. They were so hungry for the ballet, and they didn't want to have a ballet teacher look at them and say, oh, because you don't have the ballet body, I'm going to treat you like a modern dancer. And I never did that. And that's why I enjoyed teaching that kind of genre so much, because they could move, and they wanted, oh, you want me to, you think I can look like a ballet dancer? Of course you can look like a ballet dancer, you know. They didn't want the stigma that was placed on them. And so I'm encouraging, I'm talking about the classical bunhead getting their tush into a university dance program that has amazing opportunities to do, like what you said, all sorts of incredible choreographers and guest artists and teachers, and not delineate between the ballet or the modern department or this or that. I mean, we do, but there's different degrees too, right? You have BFAs, BAs, I don't know what it's like here.
Very much so, and I think there's incredible freedom too to continue, well, at least for us, because we're not an accredited school, which has its pluses and its minuses, but one of the pros to that is that we can continue to shape our BA in particular so that it is really applicable for students who want to be studying physics and want to be dancing, and how do you make those two things work? Like, and how can we help support the student in whatever their track is? That's our philosophy. I don't know. I know that dance in higher education is going through a major change right now, and having to
like WASC, following those rules and
not
regulations.
necessarily. I think there's just there's a need to know how to justify why dance is important in university settings.
Is there?
There is. Yeah.
I was told at a junior college that the problem is allowing those credits to be transferred when the kids go transfer to the four-year university. That's the issue. And the other thing is the numbers, getting the numbers up. They're offering wonderful classes, but the people that are organizing aren't allowing. I mean, I can think of one place I was teaching, we had 4 levels in one class because there were not enough students, not enough money to offer the proper level of classes and the proper number of different class levels for all these different teachers. So you're teaching beginners, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year.
Yeah. That's real.
That's real.
That's real. And I think, it has to do with how university administration is looking at the number of students who are in a class. And
Bottom line, it's numbers.
Yeah.
That's it.
Not understanding that dance is different, like to really be able to effectively teach a class. Ultimately, it should be like a 1-to-9 ratio, but that isn't understood.
No, it's not gonna. It's just not gonna pay the bills, right?
It's just a different.
And I was interested in what Merritt said about you brought in all these people at Harvard. I'm just thinking, we in Montana, used to be able to afford that because there was the National Endowment for the Arts and all of that, but there's nothing now, and Nicole knows, yeah. So to get funding to bring in a guest choreographer is like very, very difficult in a state university.
Yeah.
And Harvard and also Juilliard, they can do a lot more for their students. They can expose them to more artists. And it's really hard in a small program, in a state program.
But there can also, I think, be really incredible benefits too about like you can be making dances and like who are you and like what's your
And now with
choreographic
social
voice.
media as well.
Oh.
Like people, I love how you give someone space and they can create their own thing with their own personality and all of that stuff. But
Does anybody have any students, anybody have any children here that are curious about this for your student? So, can you, well, go ahead. You can tell us, how does this hear, how do you hear this?
Well, so I have a 17-year-old, she's a junior in high school
Perfect.
right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
She is, I guess, similar to Merritt, her academic passion is really science, but she
Okay.
loves dance, and she's been doing this since she was 9, I guess, with RMBT.
Okay.
And so we're trying to think right now, what will college look like in terms of
Perfect.
dance if science will likely be her major. But yeah, just kind of curious about what then dance looks like in college for someone like that.
And you're in a situation where your school is very much celebrated when the dancers are older. My experience is that that is rare these days because, again, it boils down to paying the bills, some of those studios, and the thinking at the top isn't really of concern for what happens to the kids in high school, yes? But you're in a situation, you have an awesome opportunity here and are going to be celebrated to look beyond at all sorts of different things. But do you have any questions, or how do you do, because if you go online, oh, it's like 238 colleges you can choose from. You know, and I think of it like this when students say, where should I go to college? It's like, you're the one that's on the internet every day. You have the resources. If this is for you, it's out there. When we were looking around, we didn't have that. So these kids, if they're not there, they got to do the work, a lot of that work themselves, you know, as far as researching. But what I think of is when I was, my daughter, when I was thinking about a college, and I heard there's a college out there for every single person. And so I think of that too for dance. I think that there really can be that. So, but do you have questions about where she'll go, or does she do her own research, or?
Yeah, I guess, well, I know she's done some of her own research. I'm curious maybe to follow up with something Merritt had mentioned. So if you go to a college and you're thinking of a certain academic track, is it common if you've been really into dance in high school to minor in that, or dance primarily through maybe a student dance group, or just take some classes but not major? What are kind of the options, and if there are any pros and cons? I'd be curious about that.
I'm going to say one thing. When I went to college, I said, I want credit. I was all of 23. I mean, I was old by the time I got to college, and I said, I want credit. So I got college credit for all the years from age 17 to 23. That's why I did the dance degree. Dance, physiology, psychology, but boom, 1/3 was done with those credits. So I don't know, but I think people have to go into those schools and tell them exactly what, I don't know now if it's maybe not that easy because of all the rigmarole and the red tape. But I wasn't going to take the red tape. Yes.
One of the things with Lucy, I have a 16-year-old daughter who dances as well, but I also have a 20-year-old daughter who is going to college in Chicago, at Columbia College Chicago. They offered her a fantastic dance scholarship, and she's using that scholarship to help her pay for her education. She's double majoring, which not all the kids there do, obviously, because double majoring is pretty hard, but she's pretty studious. But what we did here, and I don't know if it's available in other communities, but here in Missoula we have an awesome college prep tutoring place, and we got her into that when she was a junior in high school. Molly's in with it now. They help with all of the college things. They sit down and they talk about what are your goals for school, and then they narrow it down. They help them write all of the entrance essays.
Right.
And
Is it Hughes tutor?
Hughes does that. Hughes tutoring here.
Yeah.
And they helped her narrow it down and find a school that had a great dance department, but also had the academics she was looking for. And it was like they just paired her up, and for her, it's an absolute perfect match.
That's wonderful.
And I'm hoping to be able to do that with Molly, because I'm academically, she's still kind of going in different directions on what she wants to do, but she does still want to dance. And so we're hoping to have them help her narrow it down what she wants, yeah.
Tell me.
Well, I guess I'm the only one from outside the U.S. I'm from Panama.
Tell me.
So yes, the curiosity is coming because our academy is sort of accredited with the local Ministry of Education. So they have a full program, right? So when they completed their program around 16, 17 years, they get a title, saying certified by the Ministry of Education that has a title in dance, Spanish, ballet, blah, 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 all the specialties that she took. So it's kind of nice, but now she's talking about what is next, and she's only 13, so she's on 7th grade. So she's talking what is next, where I can go and continue dancing.
That's good.
Where I can learn
That's
more.
good.
So my brother lives in Barcelona. She's looking already in university in Barcelona. But hearing you definitely ring my bell. It's like, yeah, you got something there that I would never find, not even in Panama, obviously. From Panama is gonna be, nobody will tell me where to go. Actually, if I say, I also have a boy that is playing baseball,
Yeah.
they show me 20.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about.
This is where you need to go, and send me the video, and I'll get you in the programs. But I will not get that in dance.
So that's the company that's the business side of this that I want it to become.
Yeah, business, definitely, I think there's a business, but I think there's a
Business in a good way. Need.
huge need.
There's a huge need for it. I don't mean business in a bad way. I mean business in a good way.
Yeah, I understand.
So we'll get together, we'll just bring it together. Please, anybody.
We have a 15-year-old son, freshman, and he's very academic, math, science. So I was kind of interested to hear what Merritt had to say. He loves dance too. Actually, he was at Zurich for a little bit at Zurich Dance Academy. But
Where is he training now?
he's with Theodore Constant
In,
in Roseville, California.
okay.
And I was wondering, at a school like Harvard, they have, you said it's basically a student-run ballet company, is that correct?
Yeah, it was. So it's an interesting transition because now they have a department of theater arts and dance. So it's now morphed, and it's interesting to see the pros and cons because now you can major in theater arts and dance. But it also means that there are a lot more restrictions and there's less studio space for students. And like, there's just a lot of more people saying what's right and what's wrong. So I think it's interesting to see that, some people get discouraged if they go to a college that doesn't have a dance department. But having gone through it, I think it's sometimes better.
Do you think
but in certain ways, like,
Because then the people that are there actually just, everyone that's there is in love with what they're doing, and they all have that hunger and shared love of what they're doing.
we're just not being told what's.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to. But at the same time, it's nice to have support and to feel validated and to feel like taking a dance class or pursuing arts is actually just as worthy as pursuing sports or science or whatever it is.
Do you think that the admissions committee would feel that way? They would say, obviously if you have a talented basketball player, they're going to want you at the school. Would Harvard say, well, this person is a dancer, we might consider him more highly? Do you think that happens or not really?
I think it depends. I mean, I think admissions, at the end of the day, they really look for passion. So if someone's really passionate about something, they can see it in, I think, what they've done, how far they've gotten. Like, obviously, international ranking helps, but
Schools like Columbia and Harvard, I know, how many dancers do we know that danced in New York and quit and go to Columbia? I think Columbia is like, right, take them, boom, they're in. They love them. They love them.
So it depends on the school.
I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think Ivy League schools in particular, I think it's part of, in my experience, part of the mission to look for students who might come from an artistic background and also an academic background. I think that's really attractive.
I think it shows dedication too. I think that how much hard work goes into dance and being a dancer shows a lot of dedication and passion, and I think that schools like that really look for people that are driven and, you know, are willing to put in the time to be there and love what they're doing.
Another reason not to quit.
Yeah.
Not to quit, right? In those hard, tough years.
I think that universities too don't realize the benefits. You know, all the stuff we did, and it wasn't a dance program, but they benefited from the audiences that went to see it. And I'm thinking about UM just did Meredith Monk guest performance here, and the whole community came.
Yeah.
And wow, I don't know how much it cost, but I mean, it's really worth it for the university to get that access to all these people.
Early on, you mentioned that it would be nice if there were an ongoing process over a few years, as they have sports where they follow.
That's right.
And I'm wondering, in Merit, for example, the fact that they do have theater, art, dance program, is there someone that you can contact there and say, hey, my boy is out here, what can you do? Would you like to get to know him? Do something, is there a person, would that be well received, or is that like pushy? Or?
No. I mean, I sent video footage. I sent a DVD. I remember sending a DVD to the colleges that I was applying to. Super short.
Like an arts package or art supplement, or just
Being like, hey, my name's Merit, and then I like danced around
yeah.
a room. I saw it years later, and I was like, oh, wow. That was real bad. And it was to this music that was like, should it be played?
See, but that's brilliant what you're asking, and that's the idea behind this, is that if there was some place for these universities.
Does Harvard have a summer program?
They have some,
Like the theater
I think
dance
they do,
department?
Yeah. But you know what, actually, I like that idea, but it might be perhaps like a website that, because I think it's hard to get people to sit through a long performance, but if they could, maybe if there were like people's names and who they were throughout the years, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
You know, at RDA, Regional Dance America, does anybody do Regional Dance America? RDA festivals? Did you do that ever did you ever dance? When you're in a company, like a pre-professional company, they have once a year, different regions, all of the companies get together, and they'll have been adjudicated, and so this company will do a piece that was adjudicated, and so it'll be like a festival of all these different performances, and there's a few colleges that come and watch them, but they're really not a few, and there's a few scholarship classes to take, you know, for further education. But it would be, my idea is that it would be that kind of a festival. And if you can't watch it, that yes, you can go online. When last year at RDA, I couldn't be there, but I could go on, and it was streamed live.
Yeah.
So there was a way to see that.
And that's another good point that you were talking about with people having to fly out there and do that kind of thing. It's also like, now we have all this technology, they could go online and watch versus having to fly out there. You know, it's another.
But here's my thing, how much do we spend on sending these kids on college tours, right, to go look at campuses? And how much do parents these days, I don't know about you all, but in California there's every Tom, Dick, and Harry competition studio. And they spend a fortune on these costumes and these performances. And at the end of the year, what? Nothing happens to those costumes. They're just going to redo the whole, next year, you're going to give this much money if you're going to be on that competition team, and you're going to go onto that competition, and who knows, you're going to get an award, you're going to get this. All of that money spent, like a lot of the students, I said, come to this, oh, but we've got money set aside for this festival, this competition, or this, or this, or this. This money needs to be pooled into their resources for their future, for you know, scouting later, for recruitment later. You know, let's spend $3,000 to go away for a summer program, and what do you get at the end of it? Another chance next year to go back to another summer program, and another summer program, and another summer program. And at the end of your 4 summer programs, do you know when you're going to college? No, you decided you're going to quit because you didn't get into the summer program you really wanted to get into, and you didn't really think you were that good anyway, so you're discouraged by the end of that, or something. So what I'm saying is we spend a lot of money leading up to the end of high school, and then there's no money left to get them to do the work, to you know, not everybody can spend the money on the college application, tutoring firms, and all of that stuff. I just think it needs to be thought of earlier. Who said my son is in 7th grade and thinking of it now?
My girl. Yeah.
You have to start early.
Mm.
There are some universities, like I know that we do this, but I also know that we're not alone, that have an event that happens one time a year where we invite students who are in high school or even younger to come and take class for a full day and get a sense of what our university offers. Then there's a round table that happens with current students, and then they see a performance that evening. If you're interested in auditioning for the program and being considered for scholarships, that happens the second day. That happens at a lot of universities, but it's just you have to do your research to see if those kinds of events are available. Sometimes they're called high school days. I know that in this region, most of the universities offer something like that.
Or you can also ask, I would say, just email the dance department and ask to take class.
But the thing is I think the 3 of us are unusual.
Yeah.
I don't think we're the norm to get out there, and I don't think the norm of the people that I meet in California are thinking this. They're not giving themselves this much credit for what they can do.
I'm coming in with 1/3 credit. No, I don't think.
I was already 23. I wasn't going to pay for all those prices. How many of them dated their professors to help them? You want me to do what? Write. Well, teach me how to write. I didn't learn how to write, so whatever. I know. Never mind. Don't take my advice, but I do think it's time to be a showcase for recruitment for colleges and universities.
This kind of event.
This kind of event. Like if I called you up and I said, hi, I have a showcase in February, and we're going to have 250 dancers there from all over. Do you have anybody you'd like to send out to represent your school? What would you say to me?
Yes.
And you say yes, okay.
Because it's also representing college.
So my idea is we contact the colleges and we say, will you send somebody from your college to our showcase? And so the showcase happens, and instead of it just being a showcase of a competition, it's a showcase for these kids to be seen by however many colleges you can get to come to the showcase.
But also for the colleges to reach out.
And the colleges can, if you want to, let's say this college wants to say, well, I want to send one of my teachers. Okay, well then you can teach class on this day.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I've just been trying to do, even in our own state. There's an event that happens that's hosted by Montana Dance Arts Association. We haven't had a very strong relationship with them, and in the past 2 years I've said, can I come teach? Can I offer a free class? Can I talk to your students in the state of Montana about the only dance program that exists in Montana? So that they know and even if they're not interested in coming to our university, they can learn a little bit about what it's like to study dance in the university setting.
Yeah.
But I'm doing that. No one's asking me to do that.
Yeah.
That's,
So
You're on. I get it now. It took me. Got it.
I didn't explain it very well. Does anybody else understand what I was thinking about this business model of showcase for recruiting?
For instance, again, as a foreigner,
Yes.
I'm invited here to come and compete. We have gone a couple of, I would say, commercial type of competitions, and I really hate them.
Yes.
By far. Okay, so
Yes.
a lot. This one, I really was curious about. So
Yes.
that's why I accepted to come.
Okay.
And well, my daughter wants to go and dance everywhere. Obviously, she wants to dance,
Aw.
right? But I was curious about it. So if you connect this, what you're saying, with this type of competitions or get-togethers or showcases or whatever, I would say the amount of population that would like to come would be much higher. For instance, we were invited. I remember were like only 4 invitations on that competition in Panama, and out of the 4, we came 3. Only one dropped it, and you know why? Because she had already saved money
Yes.
and assigned the money
Yes.
for different competitions
Yes.
during the year,
Yes.
and this was not one of them.
That's right.
Already.
That's right.
So,
There you go.
So you got
Exactly.
it right. Okay, so if this would be part of the incentives, I guess RMBT would be, or the BBB will be a competition that will not be only 200, maybe would be on the 1,000 people trying to come.
Okay. Okay. I like that.
No more.
But wouldn't you like to go to California in the middle of February too and do it for a long weekend?
Guess what?
What?
I'm flying out to California because my daughter also won a scholarship on a dance studio down
Where?
there in Millennium Dance Complex.
Okay, well, you can look me up. I'm in Ventura.
Oh, okay. I'll give him a card.
Okay.
Actually, the team over there are also from abroad. I think from Mexico and Ecuador. So
This is Italy.
and Italy. Okay.
Hello, Italy.
So
We're talking about recruitment for later dancing.
You have said a lot of things that are very common also, and sometimes international is more difficult because these competitions all the competitions are the only way that we can get our dancers to get trained. That's what when you were saying that about spending, going to a summer intensive
Yes.
and the year next.
Yes.
Because we don't know exactly how do we expose our
Exactly.
dancers to this what we are living right now, so they can learn. Because in my country, for example, Ecuador, there are few, just for a hobby, never as a dancing as a career. It's kind of very difficult, so we always have to think about going outside, and going outside means that you have to be trained outside, to expose them to how is the thing outside, and the only way is the competition, and it's very expensive. And you were saying, saving the money for these kind of things like the showcase, it will be perfect for us, because we will gain and we will mean each year or maybe 2 years to expose them.
I like that too. I like that. I like that a lot.
And do you see I don't know if you read the documents that we are getting in BBB right now. One is called Danceador, which is a yeah. So I love it because my girl has an Instagram. It's private because she's only locked because she's only 13 years old, but she loves to post everything that she do on dancing, right? And that is a great area. I don't know how the
Tell us
security will
about
go, and but yeah.
Tell us.
Well, so as Nicole was saying, I graduated with a dance degree, and I love being an artist. And at the same time, I was realizing I have a humanitarian streak and how to combine some of that. And part of it is that I'm frustrated with what's going on with the arts, and that we're even asking for funding in this day and age. We watch a Gene Kelly, scene where he's in Technicolor, dancing with his twin self.
Yeah.
He has one take to master, all of these steps, and it's just brilliant that he was able to do that. I mean, he's more like a supernatural creature, and the fact that a person can do that, I mean, that to me is proof. Okay, why are we still in 2018 begging for funding in the arts? And it's the same thing. If I can get on a soapbox about it, but To me, it's how can we gain self-sufficiency in art if we don't have the amount of money to buy our own home, to get our own food, to, the basic needs of anything. So I think art in general is still treated almost like a beggar on the street. And so to gain that self-sufficiency and that empowerment is tricky. So I think what I'm doing with Danceador is it's dance and ambassador smushed together. And my goal is to respond to UNESCO's prediction that over half of our intangible cultural heritage will be gone by the end of this century if nothing is done about it, which is also something that's very frustrating in my mind, because how are our values so separated from our economic system? So, where we're putting our funding, our vision as a collective, what we see as our human potential or our human, well-being, like what is our vision as humans? Like how do we want to spend this precious time we have on Earth, And so to me, when I see an amazing scene that Gene Kelly does, I mean, I would leave this Earth satisfied with the contributions I made while I was here, and that we're putting funding into a lot of things that I think as humans we can't necessarily say that. And so in response to the fact that, all this intangible cultural heritage is endangered, Danceador is going to be spreading awareness, preserving and celebrating our global dance legacy. So I'm focused on the dance portion of it, which is still a lot of it. And I know I'm one person, so I'm basically working to inspire a global dance movement and get a bunch of people on board to share their voices, their dance voices, and showcase, why do you love dance? And I'm doing it through different fun and interactive projects.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And that's, are we having a topic? Are you giving your topic here? No, well, all right.
It is on the one flyer.
Yeah.
So I read it and I was very interested in it.
Very good. Well, this was just a preliminary discussion, something that I was sharing with Charlene about where I'd like to take this showcase for the arts, so to speak, is what I've been calling it up until this point. And I had wanted an opportunity to talk about it with all different people. So a lot of you were very, very helpful to me. And if anybody would like to share that didn't get a chance to share, please. I have no idea what time it is. It's about time. It's about time. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. If you think of things, and I would love to keep in touch and hear from you all, because I want a group of people that like this idea. Takes a village. Thank you.